Good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world.
I've been looking around for salvation. I've been looking around for the truth. All around me I see frustration, and I looked all over till I found you. I sit and listen to your stories, and you're telling me, please don't worry. A lot in this world you should know, and loving life is where you should go. If you're looking for somewhere to go, if you're looking for someone to know, if you're looking for someone to guide you, then loving life will guide you. I know that life outside is so hard. There's a lot of things that can tear you apart. Sometimes feel lonely, but remember you're not the one and only. There's always someone there to help you, a helping hand to pull you through. There's only one thing you should do: take my hand and join the Love and Life crew.
Koinant, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And we have a very, very interesting discussion tonight about bees and food security. But before we get on to that, there is something I need to discuss with the Loving Life community. Well, after several people in this channel, including myself, being worried about Jaco van der Merwe, we have discovered where he has gone. He is setting up a YouTube account with another YouTuber called Africa something. Just for the record, about a month ago, Jaco asked if he could set up a WhatsApp group called Loving Life Moderators. I said fine. Earlier today, he removed several people from the WhatsApp, including myself, and renamed it after the new YouTube channel. I just want to say to Jaco how disappointed I am in him. Obviously, it's your decision if you want to stay in the newly named WhatsApp. Okay, let's have a look. Here's the Loving Life Moderators page, and you can see at the bottom it says here, you can't send messages to this group because you are no longer a participant. Well, I thought it was my group, but anyway, it is what it is. Now, on Tuesday night, we have something really special for you. We're going to be having Big Daddy joining us. Yep, he's confirmed, Marlena. So we're all set for Big Daddy on Tuesday night. And one other little bit of news, Melbourne. Yeah, that live stream coverage of Melbourne was a bit disturbing. But I have to tell you that it did actually get onto the news in Australia, what happened. So that was a good thing. Now, let's get to the subject for tonight. Beekeepers in crisis. What this means for food security in South Africa. Let me get Dion on so we can talk to him about this big, big issue. Here we go. Hi, Dion.
How's it, Scott?
Excellent. There you are. Fantastic. I can see you. Perfect. Now, Dion, I've just been telling people that we're going to be talking about bees and food security as a broad overview. But before we do, what I'd like you to do is give me your background, where you grew up, just generally talk about your life pre and post 1994, and we will talk about how things have changed since 1994 as a separate question. But just tell us about your life growing up and how you got involved in bees and so on.
Yeah, Scott. I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna trim it right down because we'll grow old and I'll still be talking. Well, basically, it's been a family thing in my family all the years. My grandfather was outposted from Germany in the late 1800s and started off in Port St. John's in the Eastern Cape, where he started beekeeping. He had a general trading store there and a farm. 1926, my dad was born, and after that came his brothers and sisters. Basically, all got involved in the beekeeping game those days, right up until Second World War, where they were all put into homes and all sorts because of because they were Germans. And yeah, well, after my dad came out after the Second World War, my dad was a plumber, tradesman, but his big love was bees, and well, his whole family. My uncle is Willie is that's all he did all his life. In any case, I was tutored by my dad since as far back as what I can remember. So I've been always involved in beekeeping and on a hobbyist scale, and later on years on a commercial scale. And that's what I've been doing, and that's what I do now for the last, call it 10 years. I don't even, I stopped counting a long time ago. It could even be more. And yeah, I'm here in the Lowveld in Mpumalanga. Doing my bee thing, yeah.
Fantastic.
My dad made me a lot of bee equipment, a hell of a lot of bee equipment. Before he passed away 2 years ago, right up until the age of 92, with his hands in his backyard in Springs,
wow.
Gauteng, out of scrap,
Wow.
He really made sure that I can carry on and that there's enough equipment for me until I pass away one day, and enough equipment to pass on to somebody else as well. I've got no shortage in that department.
Right, fantastic. Now, look, you're a bit of an old fart like me. Okay, we're both sort of moving on in age. So, can you tell me? Carry on.
I say they call me Wim, so
they call me Wim too. Now, can you tell me, in your own words, how South Africa has changed from pre-1994 to post-1994? What are the big changes you have seen personally?
Well, Scott, pre-94, from when I was born up until pre-94, the apartheid era. That's all I knew. I never knew anything else, and I don't think any of us ever realized that there's actually something wrong. It was just a way of life. This is, this is we all had to do it. As far as the beekeeping is concerned, we didn't have the serious problem that we've got now, vandalism and all that type of thing. In the beekeeping game, food for bees, foraging, that there was plenty of, especially in the Lowveld, where that has changed since then. Due to all the agriculture and all the poisons getting sprayed, and a massive problem with vandalism and theft, as well as there's a list of things, that things have just changed in the beekeeping game, as well as at the same time now there is it's a hell of a demand, and it's very essential that pollination is done to feed the masses and all the people in South Africa,
Right.
and the economy, that because a lot of the stuff that I'm pollinating, like for instance the macadamia nuts, most of that gets exported.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, talking about government, how has the structure that they have set up affected beekeepers, your industry?
Well, Scott, what's happened is how it works is all beekeepers are required to register with Department of Agriculture and Forestry and Fisheries, irrespective if you've got one box of bees in your backyard or you're a commercial beekeeper with 2,000 hives or 500 hives or whatever the size may be. That's about where the buck stops. After that, we as beekeepers are self-governing, and financed. That the rest is all financed by ourselves through a organization. The organization is SABIO, South African Beekeepers Institute organization.
So is it like a non-profit organization, is it?
Profitable organization, and that's the organization's got the mandate to govern us, basically.
Right.
That we all chip in and finance a couple of bob, and that's how we go. No funding or help from government whatsoever.
Right. Okay. So what you're saying is that the government don't help beekeepers at all.
No.
Okay.
Not.
Now, how many beekeepers are there in South Africa today? How many are there left, and how many were there?
I've now, in the last while, I've been trying to get to that figure, but Department of Agriculture would have the figure in the end of the day once they get all the admin and that up to date, because it's way behind. The last figures that I saw from Department of Agriculture was about 2 years ago, where there was about 1,600 beekeepers registered with them. And then we must take into account that at least 2/3, I would say, are backyard beekeepers, small beekeepers that actually don't contribute anything to the agricultural food chain. As far as the pollination is concerned, it's a very, very small amount of beekeepers that actually do pollination on large agricultural farms, where food ends up on the supermarket shelf or for export. As far as I'm concerned, probably between 200, if that many. Let's say 200 to 400, but I wouldn't say there's more than 400 of us countrywide There's a lot more in Western Cape. Western Cape is a lot better area of beekeeping than in the Lowveld.
Right.
Yeah, the Western Cape, beekeepers there do about 5 pollination sessions in a year, and where is very different to the Lowveld, where I am. We've got one pollination thing. Everything that gets pollinated, or the majority, gets pollinated in spring. Yeah, from July through to through the spring, and that's it. The rest of the year, there's no income, or the rest of the year it just costs money. We've got to look after those bees and maintain a lot. So
Wow.
it's very much different there, and yeah, obviously with COVID now.
Let's get to COVID in a moment. Let's get back to the drought situation that's prevalent over a lot of South Africa. How has that impacted the beekeepers?
Well, it's impacted. Let's start off with the bees first. In my area, we're feeding the bees right now as I speak. There's just there's not enough forage to keep the bees going. That's a costly exercise on its own. There's a huge demand, especially by us in the macadamia nut industry, which is absolutely exploded. It's, as far as I'm concerned, the biggest industry in the Lowveld. I mean, the mining industry is kaput. The forestry is not doing too well, and basically a lot of businesses in that support businesses to the Mac industry, and that is dependent of them, and it's they generate quite a huge part of the economy with their exports, and keep the ball turning in the Lowveld, and obviously now things are going to change a bit.
Right. Well, we actually have quite a few farmers and commercial farmers who follow this channel. I'm sure that they would be concerned by the state of the beekeeping industry in South Africa. What would your message be to them?
Yeah, I'd say we need help. To be realistic, let's call it a figure of 300 beekeepers countrywide. Yeah, where I am in the Lowveld, I wonder if it's 20 of us that actually do beekeeping, that supply the food chain for big agricultural commercial farms, pollination. I'm not talking about the smaller beekeepers that don't contribute. There's probably about 20 of us. I mean, that's a pathetic amount, and we've probably got we've got tens of thousands of hectares of max here, and avos and lychees and all sorts growing in the Lowveld. There's a huge shortage of bees and beekeepers here, and battling to expand because of the problem we got here with foraging. The rest of the year, we just can't keep the bees going and healthy and alive because of the lack of foraging. So,
yeah, and the bees are the biggest pollinators, aren't they, of food?
When it comes to certain things like max and lychees and that type of thing, it's an absolute necessity. There's a lot of studies that's been done there in Australia by you guys. Let's just talk about max. It's been proven that max for mac fruit to develop, the bee has to pollinate that flower a minimum 5 to 6 times in a short window period of about 2 days when that flower stays fertile order to develop. If that doesn't take place, no fruit. So obviously, if there's a lack of pollination, the yields go right down. It's huge financial losses when that happens. Eh?
Right, now talking about losses, has vandalism on the hives increased a lot in the last 20 years?
Oh yes, no, it's out of hand completely. I mean, we get large numbers of bees theft that just happens overnight. You know, guys lose 50 to 100 swarms. They get stolen, loaded in a truck, and carted away.
Wow.
You can't. You can go to the police and go make a case. They don't really look at it as stock theft. It's not really an act. You know, to charge somebody. You know, possession of stolen goods, the bee equipment and that. But if you walk into any police station and you've got maybe a bit of vandalism where some people have damaged some hives and stolen the money, they look at you as if you're stupid. You know that. You must remember that's part of their tradition. I'm talking about a certain part of the population now.
Right.
The major part of the population. Honey and bees and eating the larva plays all different roles in their traditional healing with the samgomas and that. So for them, they don't see anything wrong with it. It's, you know, that's something that's nature. That's they're out in the open for anybody to go and help themselves with. They don't see anything wrong with it. Absolutely not. So you gotta really hide your bees away and jack yourself up and then hope for the best. But you probably lose. The most of the guys lose about a quarter to a third of their bees every year, and all equipment that goes with it, because they burn it when they, you know, to stop the bees from stinging them. They smoke and burn it, and then often plantations, blue gum plantations or pine plantations burn down as a result of fires getting out of hand and all sorts of chaos. Eh?
Oh, wow. That is just shocking. Have you suffered from that sort of vandalism?
Oh yes, no, we all have.
Oh, wow. And you don't know you don't know who's doing it. I mean, the person.
You know, there's thousands of them doing it.
Yeah. Okay.
If the eyes see it, the hands take it. Eh?
Yeah.
It's just a matter of.
Now, Ramaphosa is really big with triple B, double E, black economic empowerment. How has that impacted your industry?
Scott, there's very, very, very few beekeepers that are registered triple B, double E, or whatever. Some of the big guys, I think, that have got involved in projects that are registered B, triple E, but the rest of us, medium to, well, that contribute towards the essential pollination of agriculture are what you call
old farts.
You know, we deal with the farmers, which are mostly white people, or, you know, we don't want to get pull race into this conversation now, but my point is, there is no need for me to be BEE. I don't trade with anything anywhere that BEE certificates are required to carry on with business. Well, up until now, eh? Now the ball has changed, because now there's no assistance from government because of BEE.
You're talking about funding during the lockdown.
Funding during the lockdown, because of, and that's the majority of us. Sabio, I spoke to the board members last night, and placed the question if they know of anybody, a single beekeeper anyway, that they know of, that they have knowledge of, that has been bailed out with a bit of COVID-19 funding or anything, and their answer was no, they don't know of anybody. But I'm sure there must be somewhere. I heard a rumor there was in the Western Cape. There are some coloured and beekeepers in it, and I think some of them came right, but not. I don't know who, but yeah, definitely not. No. So we're all in a bit of trouble, eh?
So financially, you're on the bones of your backside, aren't you?
Well, you must remember we still in a 6-year extreme weather and droughts.
Yeah.
It's been very difficult, the beekeeping. A lot of the guys have fallen, eh? That just or scaled down, or
yeah,
they're just struggling to keep going. So we came into this COVID-19 thing with empty pockets already.
Wow. Wow. And you are a critical part of the food chain because of the pollination.
Well, that's exactly the whole point of this conversation, because that's not a thing that you can fix with once there's disaster. You can't just throw money with it and a month later or whatever, it's all fixed and going. And this is my fear, because there is such a small amount of beekeepers that, especially in my area, that do agricultural pollination. And if we lose more of them, you don't just put a couple of bucks in and train a couple of guys and get them a bit of equipment and that, and what 6 months later you got new beekeepers on the map and everything carries on. No, it takes years. It's a lot of experience. It's a lot of knowledge. It's something you got to have a passion for. Eh? Beekeepers do it for the love of it, not. If you think you're going to do it for money, you're definitely not going to make it. Eh?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a big point of concern, because if the pollination, which is going to deteriorate this year, it's not going to be good this year in my area, because it's time now. It's nearly time now that we've got to deploy all our swarms and out to the agricultural farms, and it's not just a matter of just loading them on a truck or a bucky and dropping them off in there. It's all done now. There's a lot of preparation involved before that.
Right.
That also costs money. That time has gone by now. The preparation that I'm talking about is like preparing supers and preparing the sites where you're going to go put them down, cutting the grass and making sure it's safe for fires and all sorts. And then the actual deployment. I mean, thousands of kilometers you're talking about that we have to travel to get this whole lot out onto the tens of thousands of hectares of farms. So it's going to suffer a bit. But the big thing is, if we lose beekeepers, the problem is next year we're going to be able even a bigger problem with pollination as a result of a shortage of experienced beekeepers and bees, and that's just going to keep on snowballing. And if that goes wrong, of course those farmers also go wrong. They're black people that work for them. They suffer by it as well, right through till the consumer, right through the whole line of the food chain. Eh? I mean, it's common sense. Pollination is a thing that must take place. You can't bypass that.
Yeah. Now you employ people, don't you? But how many people do you employ?
I've got 4, all black people. They're very loyal. They've been with me for years. They're really struggling now. I'm helping them out of my pocket, because there are a lot of people that there's nothing about from the unemployment fund or anything like that.
Right.
I'm not even waste my time on phone calls and sending emails or anything anymore. I'm just going to ride it through. But I've got all the traveling permits and that now to carry on and do it. But yeah, the cash flow is now non-existent.
Right. I just want to address the people watching. Thank you so much for being part of the discussion tonight. And just to the side chat, guys, let's forget about the opening statement I made. Okay, look, it's water under the bridge. Let's not worry about it. Life goes on. Okay, now let's get back to the bees. So you're saying to me that the amount of beekeepers that service a food chain today in South Africa is dramatically reducing, or the amount of hives that are there to actually pollinate crops is dramatically reducing, except perhaps for the Western Cape. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, that's correct. And then maybe there's Natal's also not. I would say Natal probably falls second. Now we lost in the queue. We in a bad way. Yeah, the drought has knocked us for 6. And the demand for pollination is, you can times it by 20, 30. That's the demand, but we just can't develop ourselves to the right size to service this whole industry because we've got a problem with foraging, and you can't. Now it makes things very difficult. You need special permits to go into the plantations, and that they're only issued to certain people, and there's a lot of red tape in that involved. You know.
Right. Now you mentioned macadamia nuts earlier. Can you tell me how important the macadamia nut industry is to your region?
Well, that's our economy at this stage of the game, mate. That's our economy. You take that away, we've got no more economy in the Lowveld. Nothing.
Right.
Because the mining's not going to do it. The amount of companies in that are going to, don't even want to think that way.
Yeah.
It's not going to be good.
How big is the macadamia nut industry?
You know, the macadamia nut organizations, SAMAC and those guys, I've placed this question to them numerous times of what is the estimate of how many hectares, but there's definitely well over 30,000 hectares. I would say that's in production. I'm not talking about new young trees. Scott, it's an unreal thing, this macadamia nut industry. The old Avo farms and the lychee farms, the guys are just ripping the trees out and planting. Everybody's planting max. They're debushing and just planting max. Taking the bees' natural habitat, they're shrinking that and just planting macadamia nuts. Everybody's climbing to it because that's about the only thing that there is a bit of profiting these days.
And you're saying to me that the macadamia nut crop is dependent on bees?
Absolutely.
So we've got this kind of conflicting situation where the actual natural fodder that the bees actually live off is being destroyed by macadamia plantations, which they can't actually use to do their, well, get pollen and stuff like that, until the macadamia trees actually go into the stage where they flower. So for the rest of the year, basically the bees have got no food, and the bees are required to actually pollinate those trees. It sounds crazy.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say the whole rest of the year. There are certain stages of the year, but no fodder that's enough to actually produce honey. You know, the honey flow is the honey that we're getting is basically off the agriculture. There's a bit of blue gum around here and there that the guys get a bit of honey from, but it's not all over the show. Yeah, I don't know. It's, um, let me just get back. Just place that whole question to me again, Scott.
Okay, the question was that you've got a situation where the macadamia tree farmers are destroying the vegetation that the bees actually need to actually feed off during the periods when the macadamia trees aren't actually pollinating.
Yeah, well, how it actually works is bees can't be left on these macadamia nut farms and on in the fruit farms the whole year through in one position. Um, because of the chemical footprint, because of the insecticides that get sprayed on these bees, which is which is a big problem. The chemical footprint is so the bees have to be taken out to outside areas where there is no agricultural farms, that, as an example, the plantations and only get brought in for the little short window period of pollination when the trees are in flower. Then they must go straight out again. And yeah, there's no place to go with all this where we can keep them alive and safe, where they don't get vandalized and stolen. And it's all costly, all the traveling and your losses, and it's just endless. But because it's a passion of ours, we just take a hammering all the time, and we just carry on and on and on.
Now, you mentioned chemicals, so that's a huge part of the problem with bees. You've got to keep your hives away from the, when they spray.
You can't. That is such a serious problem. And I know in Europe there's a lot of countries that have already banned all these bee harming insecticides, and that I don't think that's going to happen here, Nari. Yeah, that's the insecticides have got all sorts of effects on bees. Bees that forage on that, carry all that insecticide into the swarms. The pollen is the food for the larva, for the next generation, which is contaminated. They are getting fed on toxic pollen that goes right through their genes. The older generation, the foragers, the field bees, they get all of flowers on the trees net which have been sprayed, and they get the insecticide in them, and it causes them to lose their direction, and almost like a dementia. They just die in flight. They don't find home again, and so the hives just sink. It is the chemicals is it's endless.
Have you lost some hives because of that?
No, plenty, lots of us. Yeah, no, all the time.
Wow.
One has to be so careful because it is such an involved, complex thing. It is, to try and explain to you the whole setup, how it works. But basically, is you can go put bees down at, say, macadamia nut orchard. The bees forage in a radius of 6 kilometers from the hive, and they always go for the best quality there is. And we class pollen and nectar in it, in a category from 0 to 4. 0 meaning it hasn't really got much value, and it's got no value for bees.
Right.
And 4 meaning very good. Okay. Now, macadamia nut, for instance, is classified at a 2, right? 0 to 2. That's pollen and nectar, which is actually not a very good quality. Citrus, for instance, is of a higher value, and so is avos and all sorts. So if you put your bees at a mac orchard, and because it all happens at the same time, you must remember, and there's oranges or citrus or mac or ever sitting in that 6 kilometer radius, they will fly right over your mac trees and go and forage there because it's of higher quality. And that's where the problem comes in with these chemicals, because you as a beekeeper don't know what is getting sprayed on other farms. And of course, when it gets to citrus,
right.
and when it gets to citrus, there's a lot of the sort of citrus oranges that because citrus is basically self-pollinating, been manipulated, it's self-pollinating. They don't need pollination from bees in oranges. And the Clement Golds, for instance, that cultivar, it's the one without the seed and that in. They don't want pollination at all there. So those farmers, it's actually very ugly what happens, is they spray insecticide from before the flowers even open right through to prevent any pollination that they can, that can contaminate their fruit. And because it's of a higher value than for instance, the max where the bees are pollinating, so they go straight there and they get nailed there by the insecticide straight away.
Now, Michelle Mullard has asked, and it's a very relevant question. She says, what can we put out for the bees? What is the best food for the bees? What sort of plants?
In this area where we are, I think anyway, it's right through the whole country. But I'm encouraging everybody. I've actually been doing it for quite a while already. And I'm growing a lot of them and sticking them in is African wild blue basil.
Wild blue basil.
African wild blue basil.
There you go, Michelle. There's the answer.
Oh, that provides food for the bees basically right through the year, 12 months of the year. And if you plant some of that, and it's hardy, it thrives on drought. It's not something that you gotta really nurse. Once it's in and it's taken, it goes. And it's edible as well.
Yeah.
You know? And then there's other things as well. There's certain cultivars of bottle brush trees that has got a high good bee value that also gives them food for like 10 months of the year. Now, there are a couple of things other than that as well, but I would say in this area I would encourage everybody to just stick blue basil in as much as we can.
Yeah.
You know, it's cheap. It's cheap to plant it as well.
One of the things that we haven't even looked at yet is the secret of the bees. And the reason I'm talking about this is because you said that they fly up to 6 kilometers from the hive to actually get food. How do they communicate? And I can't work out how two bees, one bee finds a really good place with food, so it comes back to the hive and it does like a little dance, doesn't it? Can you tell us what happens? I can't work. It's one of the secrets. Please tell us how it works.
Okay, well, you get your scout bees that go out and scout and go and find places where there is fodder. They come back to the hive and then they communicate via dances and vibrations, in which they exchange the information of exactly the distance, the direction. It's almost like the GPS coordinates.
Wow.
And the bees, the field bees, then they go out to that point and they put just enough fuel in their bodies. They know exactly how it is, or how far it is already, so they know exactly how much fuel to take with them. And fuel, the honey is used for fuel. That's the bees' fuel. So they suck up a bit of fuel, enough, and they're off, and they go get the pollen and nectar, and they will come straight back to that hive in that position. If you have to pick up, if they're out, going out to forage, and you lift that beehive and you move it, say for instance, 10 meters or something, they will battle to find that swarm again, because that's their position. That's their position where they leave, and that's exactly the position they come back to.
Oh.
Now the rule is, if you want to move bees, it is between 0 and 300 millimeters, which is basically a foot, or 6 kilometers. You don't move bees in between those distances, because they come back and they don't find home again.
Wow. So they're that precise when it comes to finding the hive. Now, I understand that you can have like 20 hives or 50 hives all boxed alongside each other, and the bees will always go back to their specific hive. Is that correct?
Oh, yes.
What happens if they go to the wrong hive?
Well, you get what they call drifting. It depends if the rest of the swarm will accept these foreign bees, because they distinguish amongst each other by smell. Pheromone smell is one of the big factor with the bees. In communication and all sorts, alarms and all sorts. And because of the position that they get back to, the exact position, if they leave the box, and as I say, you move it probably 2 foot to the left or 2 foot to the right, they will come back to the old position where the box originally was, and then eventually they'll find it. But if you go 10 meters or 20 meters away, then they bombed. They're not going to find it. They're just going to fly until they exhaust themselves and die.
Will the bees in another hive attack a foreign bee which is not from that hive?
No, for sure. Well, you got your guards outside and around the box always that keep away any robber bees, or because bees are always on the forage. So
yeah,
if there's a weak swarm somewhere, then they go in there and they go and rob that honey out and take it away. They actually cruel. They rob. So you got your soldiers there that are always protecting the entrances and making sure pests and bees from other swarms aren't entering and robbing them.
Yeah. Now, you've been in the bee industry all your life, basically. So tell me, what has been the most dangerous position you've been in regarding bees?
No, that will have to break up into categories. Well, bees stinging and all that. No, that's never been an issue to me. No, I'm very fortunate. I don't even get a little red mark on me. Bees are.
You got immunity.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just been all my life. I have had customers and people where there are bees, especially bee removals that are going to do emergency bee removals out of hospitals and all sorts already, where people are getting stung. And I've had cases where people that are allergic, it's been very close to very near fatal.
Wow.
People stung by bees and that type of thing. Safety, because a lot of the work is at night. Getting very dangerous to travel around now. Not only myself, there's a beekeeper close by me that's a lady that has also experienced this, is from getting attacked. And the vehicle has been stolen, and you know.
Wow. It's just shocking, isn't it?
And no, it's not safe at all. You gotta go with a firearm, man. Otherwise, you might not see home again.
It's crazy. I've got to share with you what happened to me in the Natal Drakensberg. I had a farm near Champagne Castle, just a 50-acre farm.
Yep.
It was a lovely piece of land and had a fantastic view of Champagne Castle. And it was like on the brow of a hill. And I was actually
Yep.
starting to build a protea farm. I wanted to put proteas all over it and then sell them to the flower market. And what happened was, it was like a summer afternoon, and I was just walking around on the brow of this hill, and I certainly heard this noise. It was like a bzzz, but it was like, it was a huge swarm of bees, and I looked around and I could see they were about 50 yards from me. And I'd been told the best thing you could do is just lie flat on the ground with your face in the grass. And so I did that. And this swarm of bees, they literally came right over me. And it sounded like they were hovering. And I thought, oh my God, I hope the queen isn't sitting on my shirt or something like that. And then they moved on again. But is that a good way to make sure you're safe if there's a bees flying past?
Man, bees that are moving like that, Scott, are normally not defensive at all. You must remember, bees defend. They protect their brood, their offspring, their queen, their home. They protect their home. Bees that are out foraging on trees and that, they don't attack. They don't.
But this was
Bees
a
that are
huge swarm. This was like a whole swarm of bees.
Yes. But now when they're moving, so relocating.
Yeah.
That whole big swarm of bees, they know if they sting you, they're going to die. They know that. And you're not a threat to them because there's nothing you can steal. There's no honey, there's no eggs, there's no larva, there's nothing. It's just them and the queen. They just looking for a place to move into and to settle. So, no, they're not a danger at all. Those, what we call in Afrikaans, track swarms. Those, you just chuck into a box and off you go, because you don't even need to put a bee suit on those things. So they don't want to. They're not interested in stinging you.
Right. Now I just want to address the side chat, guys. If you've got questions you want to put to Dion, please just put them in there, and I'll put them to Dion very shortly. We've just got a couple of other areas I want to cover with Dion. Now, what are the other dangers to commercial farming at the same time as this COVID-19 and the lockdown is happening?
Chemicals. Big problem. And it's out of our hands as beekeepers. We can't, it's a very difficult subject, because you can't not use chemicals, because then the pests will take over and it'll destroy the crops. So it's a very delicate situation, but the guys must just do it right. And unfortunately, a lot of the farmers don't, due to numerous reasons, like lack of knowledge or ignorance, or because, for instance, I'm always going back to the max, because that's the biggest industry here. The very biggest problem is stink bug, and they spray for stink bug and there's trips and all sorts of other things. That if the stink bug gets hold of their fruit, then it becomes not exportable anymore.
Yeah.
And then it's huge losses to them. Well, they can't. There isn't a big local market for it. So they spray, they make sure, and most farmers make triple sure. It doesn't matter how much they spend on insecticides, they make sure they don't get stink bug. Unfortunately, that takes the bees out.
Wow. So what is the future for the bees then? It looks like it's pretty bleak.
Yeah, it's not it's not favourable in our area. In the Western Cape, it's so lekker. Eh? As far as I'm concerned, I wish I could go there, but I'm tied down here with my property and everything. It's not just a question of getting up and leaving, and of course the property market, you won't even give it away at the moment. Eh?
So you think that the bee industry is dying, do you?
Well, this expropriation of land is another issue that's gonna. I don't know what's gonna happen to us. Where we gonna do our beekeeping operations when this type of thing happens, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But at the moment we've got a problem facing us as far as that finances are concerned, and it's going to affect the beekeeping and pollination for a couple of years to come.
Yeah,
and it makes no sense to me to be withholding relief funds to one or two single individual little beekeepers, small-time operators that maybe only employ 4 or 5 black blokes like me. It's not a big deal to anybody else, but those farms that aren't going to get serviced properly, that are going to suffer financial losses, they've got a lot more black labourers working there that are going to suffer because of the agricultural farmers' financial losses. And then, as I said, as we go along all the way down, it's just going to, if you look at it in depth, it's probably millions of people that gets affected in the end by the bees going wrong, eh?
Sorry, I'm just looking at some of the questions that are coming through. Okay. Yeah, let's just.
And everybody knows that it is said on media and on information all over the show.
Yeah.
We're never gonna get to that stage. I hope we're not. But if the bees disappear, human beings will cease to exist. Eh?
Because there won't be any pollination.
No, they're responsible for most of our food, eh?
Yeah. Now let's get to some of the questions that people have been sending to me. Okay, this is from Michelle Mullard. She says, "Is Dion aware of the studies done on the adverse effects of cell mast radiation on bee navigation systems?"
Yes. Yeah, and that's got to do with the navigation, eh? Back and this 5G thing, the internet's full of it, even on YouTube. That interferes with the navigation big time.
Right. Okay. And I have another question from D. Corbett, who says, "Has there ever been a threat of killer hornets in South Africa? USA bees are apparently under threat currently."
Nah, you get hornets and wasps that eat bees, but not on the scale, not on any scale that's actually a huge threat. That's very controllable, yeah.
Okay, now Fiona's asked...
I'm concerned in any case.
Yeah, Fiona's asked a question which is very similar to Michelle Mullard's, but I'll just put it to you. She says, "What's the best solution we can put out to feed bees? Is sugar water okay?"
Sugar water, yes. White sugar, mixed 50-50, not boiled or heated in a pot, and must be put out and fed to the bees. That the guys are doing, the public is doing. They use a very flat dish and they put some, for instance, marbles in it, and they put this mixture in there so that the bees can sit on the marbles that they run around and follow that way. And that must be put out, and the bees must consume that as quick as possible. Don't make a whole lot and store it in containers, and maybe only use it 2 weeks down the line or something because it goes toxic and it actually does the bees in. But yes, sugar water, that's the way to go.
Okay. Now, Denise has asked...
It gives them energy to go and find pollen and to carry on with the whole cycle. They run out of honey and energy. Then they collapse.
Yeah. Denise has asked, can a hive be successfully relocated? We had a big hive removed from our farm by a beekeeper because it was close to our house, animals and children.
I do lots of that. Out of roofs, in cell phone towers, under the ground, out of boats, out of airplanes. I've taken bees out, you name it.
Out of planes? How the heck did they get in a plane?
I've done bee removals and relocations out of positions of just about anywhere you can think of. Now I do lots of that. It's part of a service that I provide. That's part of our income too. Eh? You can't just produce honey. Honey is not our income.
Yeah.
That's just a little part of our income. Pollination is a little part of our income. Bee removals is another little part of our income. You got to do just about everything in beekeeping just to exist. Otherwise, you'll go down.
So, what's the strangest removal you've done of a hive? I mean, the strangest position or location?
Eh? Yeah. Yeah. Well, the hospital, the local hospital, one of the hospitals had a serious problem with bees. They actually had to evacuate 2 of the floors because the bees were just getting stuck in. It was very, very hot in December, and it was I couldn't find the swarm where they were actually nesting to, but there was something funny there with the smell or something, and yeah, it was high up eventually, like 4 floors up, and it was involving special equipment and it chopping holes in it over December, and it happened on a weekend. That was quite an interesting one. That one, the one in the private plane.
Where was it in a private plane?
It was in a motor in the Cowling.
Oh, wow.
In a Cessna.
Wow. That would have been different. Now, Dan Berryman's asked, is one able to pollinate artificially using a fan, etc., if the bees fail?
Depends what. Things like macadamias and that, you can't. The macadamia nut flower is so small, the stem you can hardly see with the naked eye. There is no other insect that really pollinates it because it can't access it. The stem sits right at the back of the flower. And the bees scratch the flower open and they get to the stern. And as I said, that it's got to be 5 to 7 times that the pollen has got to touch the stern to develop in a fruit. So hand pollination, wind pollination, or any other type of pollination like that is not negotiable when it comes to that type of fruit, eh? And lychees as well.
Yeah.
Lychees are similar, yeah. Yeah, no, you wouldn't be able to. I mean, the quantity of those flowers that have to be pollinated is billions and billions of flowers in an orchard. And how do you do that by hand?
Okay, now we've got another question here from Koos Boss. He says, Dion, the use of bees for curing rheumatism. Dion used to treat people by bee stings for treatment of rheumatism. Is he still doing it?
Who posed that question?
Koos Boss.
Now, how does he know that I do that?
I don't know. But he's watching and he asks a question.
Yeah, well, I don't really want to advise people too much because you never know who's allergic, eh?
Yeah.
But I've had some friends and people that I've known from small, curing rheumatism with and arthritis, curing it, not using it as a painkiller, curing it. With bee sting venom. Bee sting venom is probably the most potent natural anti-inflammatory there is. Man, human being can't make that. I wouldn't say it's been. I don't think it's on black and white. It's been proven that it can sort out the AIDS virus, but
That's a step too far.
it does a lot of things. Multiple sclerosis, cancer, and all sorts can be sorted out or can be helped along with bee sting venom.
Wow.
In a big way, yeah.
Wow. And just talking about this, have you actually treated people in the past like that? And what has the impact been?
Yeah, lots. There was a guy, one of my tenants here on the farm that actually became a cripple from gout, and he was in a tremendous lot of pain constantly. Painkillers would damage his kidneys, and he went through hell. And I eventually got him and showed him how to sting himself with a bee. What you do is you catch some bees just by putting a little bit of honey or bit of sugar water. Honey works the best. Just a little drop into a little margarine tub, those plastic margarine tubs. Put it in the window. Within a couple of minutes, there'll be a bee or two in there. Close the lid, put it in the fridge. For about a minute or so, you get to learn it quite quickly of how long. Different fridges run at different temperatures, so
right.
Different, yeah. And then once you take it out there, the bee is still very much alive. It looks dead. You can even pick it up and drop it. It bounces like it's stone dead. But now it makes the bee the normal people, like the guy that I showed that time. He's unfortunately passed away now. Became a very dear friend of mine. Oh, Wayne, that makes it that he can handle the bees with his hands,
Right.
And he would put the bee down in the area and then just push the bee on the backside of it, and just with warm air, wake the bee up quickly. And when the bee wakes up, push the bee and he stings you, and it's actually more mind over matter. And then that's it. It's over. There's a little bit of pain, which is not the end of the world. And that got Wayne from being a cripple to having a business again, and in a manufacturing business. He was riding bicycles. He was running around. He was like the old Wayne. Yeah.
Just through one bee sting?
No. That is treatment that he was treating himself with, whenever he required it.
Right. Okay. Now, Eric has asked, where can I get pure propolis, whatever that is?
There are some beekeeping suppliers. I don't know in what area she is. For instance,
she's in KwaZulu-Natal.
Yeah. I don't know, Beware, they're the Pretoria guys, and that. But I could find out if she can just post or send me a cell phone number or something, and I can tell exactly where to go. They're in Durban. There's a shop there. I spoke to them a little while ago, beekeeping shop that sell all sorts of beekeeping products. Yeah, but you could get propolis from there. Also big medicine propolis, eh?
Well, Erica, if you're happy, what I'll do is I'll send Dion your email address, and you can have a chat to him on email. All right, guys. Look, this has been a really interesting discussion. I find bees absolutely fascinating, and the secrets of the bees are there's so much we don't know about bees, as Dion's just explained to us, and for this industry to be in the financial position it is right now is very concerning, especially when we consider how bees have been impacted by chemicals and by vandalism. The whole industry is in crisis, which is why I posed the question earlier to Dion about how long do you think the beekeeping industry can survive. I guess there'll be some big beekeepers who will continue, but the impact on our food security is going to be huge, isn't it, Dion?
Even the small beekeepers with a 20 or 50 or 100 swarms of bees that are doing pollination, they all add up, and every single one of them is very valuable. If we lose any one of them, then we're going backwards to an industry that's exploding. We need more, not less. Now I've got a problem this year. Well, this season, I'll probably get over it somehow. I don't know how. Just to get everything in line to get through this pollination season, and to service all my customers and farmers and that. Hopefully, I'll come out the other side still going, but I don't know. I'm just running out of funds.
That's terrible.
This lockdown is just, this lockdown's just done us in such a big way, eh?
Yeah. How many swarms do you have, or how many hives do you have?
I couldn't tell you now, because I've got a lot of new boxes out catching bees and that, and I'm actually busy going through them now. But most of us in the Lowveldja, the beekeepers, they run about between 1,000 and between 200-300 and 1,000, and then the odd 2 or 3 guys have got 1,000, couple of thousand. I myself have probably got close to 1,000 at the moment.
Right. Well, that's a huge number of hives, isn't it?
Not really, eh? Considering that you need 4 hives at least per hectare of 312 trees on macadamia nuts. So
wow. Okay.
I can service 250 hectares actually with my bees. I mean, that's nothing. It's nothing. There's farms that have got 800, 1,000 hectares of macadamia nuts growing on them, eh?
So you'd need about 4,000 hives for that.
You need more hives in the Lowveldja to service the Mackie nursery now, presently, and the new trees that are coming into production. You need more swarms of bees, I think, than there is in the whole of the country.
Right. Well, it's been fantastic chatting to you, Dion, and learning about the situation that beekeepers face in South Africa. I just want to say to the moderators, thank you once again for all the excellent work you do in the side chat, and also to those who've participated in the side chat. Thank you for being part of the live stream, and everybody who's been here with us. Lovely to have you along. I've learnt a lot about bees and the situation today for the beekeepers. I've got one question. Fiona says, or SD asks, Scan, you ask how he controls hive beetle.
Strong swarms. Weak swarms, the pests pull in. Small hive beetles, wax moths. It all starts ants, ant control. Keep the ants at the hives. As soon as you get ants in, you weaken the swarm, they can't defend properly. Next minute, small hive beetles are in. Then to get the small hive beetles out, not that easy. There are methods she can look up on YouTube with old CD covers, and there's a lot of different little ways that you can do it. Yeah, strong swarms. That's why we feed and we try and keep our swarms as strong as possible, because a strong swarm, really strong swarm, not even ants can get in there. They defend it completely.
Yeah.
Weak swarm's a dead swarm.
Now, Jackie Monkeys has asked, please ask Dion why do bees sting someone who is allergic, flying past everybody as I'm deadly allergic. So I guess what she's saying, that she's with a group of friends, she's the only one allergic, and a random bee comes along and doesn't sting anyone else but stings her.
Could be a lot of reasons, eh? Smell. Most of the time, smell. Now, when a bee stings you, it leaves a pheromone on you, and which makes you a target, gives the other bees direction of exactly where the danger is, and they all come nail you. And there are some perfumes and things that women use that have got all sorts of effects on these creatures, eh?
So it could be the perfume she's wearing.
Yeah, or just body odor, or just by chance. Yeah. I wouldn't say it's because I wouldn't say it's because she's allergic. Then that's the reason why they come to her, straight to her. No, I wouldn't say that.
Right. Now, Malina, who you've been talking to, has said, should anyone want to purchase raw pure honey from Dion, drop Scott a line and I'll connect you with Dion. Now, is there a contact email or some business phone line that people can call if they want to buy pure honey from you?
Yes. Fiona's got my email address, and I will post it. Post my cell phone number as well, and people are welcome to order honey from me. I send honey via. I use Courier Guy all the time still. They are quite cheap and very reliable. I send honey all over the country.
Right. Okay. So what you're saying is that, okay, if the best thing is if people just email me, I'll just put my email address in the bottom here, and I'll pass this on to Marlena, and she can give the details to Dion. And in your email to me, if you can just give your phone number so that Dion can make phone contact with you, that'll cut a few corners.
Let me give you my email. My email is dionspearhoney@gmail.com.
Dion
spelled DEONS.
Yeah.
Spearhoney@gmail.com.
DionsHoney@gmail.com.
Dion's Pure Honey.
Dion's Pure Honey. Okay. All one word, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not put my cell phone number on the YouTube here, because my cell phone drives me around the bend most days.
Okay.
People calling me for all sorts as far as that's concerned.
Understood. So if you want, the best way to go, guys, is just to email dionspurehoney@gmail.com. And I've put the email address in there.
And then my lovely wife will probably contact him straight away, probably. And we can just take things from there.
Fantastic.
They need to speak to me. She'll connect them with me as well.
Great. Now, let's just see. Okay, I've got one final question before we wrap up this live stream, guys. It's from Fiona Timms, and she says, what about the Verona mite?
Verona mite. I don't have much of a problem with it. In certain part of the country it is a problem, but I and in the Lowveld don't experience much problems with that. And to be quite honest with you, I don't have much experience because I don't have problems with it. I don't have much experience with Verona mite at all.
Right. All right. I just want to say thank you so much, Dion. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on this live stream tonight. As I said just a moment ago, you've taught us a lot about bees and the situation beekeepers face in South Africa today. Is there anything you'd like to say to people watching the video now or who might watch the video later regarding the beekeeping industry and its importance to humanity? Just something that you might like to just say.
There is. I just want to, before I forget, I would like you to put me or send me the contact details of the right people I can speak to at AfriForum to see if we can't get some assistance and now and in the future for beekeepers towards in interest of food production and food security.
Right.
I'd appreciate that, Scott. Yes, there's a lot of things, bee removals. A lot of people end up with bees in their roof or bees in their gardens that sting them or a nuisance, and people must just stop spraying bees. There's the right way and there's the wrong way. You know, a lot of bees are getting poisoned, and that poses a problem. When they use poison or insecticide to kill a swarm of bees, for instance, in a pole or in a roof or whatever, as soon as they've killed that swarm, the other bees in a 6-kilometer radius, at least, they pick up that there is an abandoned hive, and they go and they rob it, and they in turn contaminate bees in a whole 6-kilometer radius by poisoning that one hive. It's a hell of an effect on the bees when they do that. Yeah, get experienced, qualified, not qualified, experienced, registered beekeeper, not a fly-by-night. There has been there was a thing on Carte Blanche a while ago with beekeepers that are not lucrative or don't have the right knowledge or just doing it at a pure greed. They're doing it wrong, but there's a lot of beekeepers that are passionate. Most of us, in any case, get a real beekeeper to remove and relocate that swarm of bees. That's the one thing. Secondly is plant bee fodder. Plant bee fodder as much as you can. That's the biggest help for bees that the normal public can do. You know, to try and save the odd bee out that flies into your home, getting it out alive, or putting a little bit of sugar out in your window. In a small quantity that doesn't count big points.
Right.
Fodder. Plant things like blue basil. Plant things and save the bees. Be conscious of bees. Don't just let the guys poison them in that. And they all we got.
Yeah.
Because they're gone, we've got nothing. We're not there anymore either.
Okay, what I'll do, Dion, is I'll ask Marlena to contact AfriForum and give them your details so that they can get back to you. Because Marlena's got all the contacts with regards to that. Is that okay, Marlena?
And I wouldn't want to do that on my own. I would like the association to get involved.
Yeah.
I would say that that would be the ethical thing to do, is to get the lucrative association involved so that we can start getting some help. And
what is the contact detail for them? Well, perhaps you can just give that to Melina, because you're in phone contact with Melina. All right. Fantastic. All right, guys, look, I'm going to wrap up this live stream. Thank you so much for joining us. Looks like Monday night I might be having a break. Thanks, Melina. I need a break. I've been going flat out every night for 2 weeks, and hats off to Melina for all the work she does in the background for me. But don't forget, Tuesday night, I will be with Big Daddy. We're going to have a fun talk. He's quite a character. All right. Once again, thanks, Dion. It's been really interesting chatting to you. And to everybody, please be safe, take care, and I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Bye for now.